But here, that's from the better late than never category there. May I ask you how you're feeling these days, Michael?
Yeah,
A lot better than a year ago. How's
good.
that? um, yeah, I guess it's gone past being a work in progress, as it were. I was, diagnosed with the cancer last year, around I think August or so, and we had to move on it very quickly. I won't get into the details of the nature of the cancer. That suffice to say, it was non-treatable,
Mm.
and so the offending pieces had to be removed. And I went through that and had a major tour in Europe lined up. And I said to my physician, "Would you mind if I mean, would it be uh,
Do you mind if I go?
would it be feasible if we put this off until the middle of?" And I was about to say the word December. I got halfway through it and he just started shaking his head, and I went, "Okay, now I understand the urgency of this." And I was in the operating room, I think like 2 weeks after that, and then on stage about 3 weeks after that. And he says, "I'm not going to condone this, but if you want to, just be careful." And it was rough. The tour itself, the shows themselves were fine. You almost never know that what I was going through, but it was after the show and the traveling and all of that really, really took its toll. So, but I couldn't cancel. There were too many people. The shows were mostly sold out.
Yeah.
You've got local, local crews. You've got the audience, the tickets, and I just said there's too many moving parts and too many people that would be out of work, out of being able to go
Yeah.
to a show. I said no. I've got to. If I can do this, if there's any way I can pull this off, I got to do it. So it ended up being very successful. Paid the price when I came home because I said to the guys, "We're not doing that anytime soon. I've got to really get a handle on this." But it is what it is, and it's an adjustment. It kind of makes you look at life slightly differently,
Yeah.
and you start waking up in the morning going, "Hey, I made it to another day." So, but just monitoring it, regular checkups and keeping an eye on it. It's just,
Because
but feeling a lot better. Thank you.
I was going to see you at Kerfest.
Yes.
And that was, I think, around the time, which is fitting because it's an Oakville, that it all kind of came out that
I
you,
believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was September something, like very
yeah,
early in
yeah,
September. The
yeah,
surgery was September 12th. So yeah, it
yeah,
was kind of the
yeah,
timing was not great. So
yeah. Yeah, because then it was also you had also I follow you on Instagram. I follow Saga on Instagram, and you
mm,
had posted there.
mm.
And then did you end up doing a cruise after that you were on, or was that before?
After the European tour,
Okay,
early, I guess April it was the tour
right.
or the show. Again, it was a commitment that was made. Far less stress than the
Yeah,
tour because you get on the
yeah,
boat and there you are. I had a wheelchair to get around just for stamina's sake and that.
right.
Two shows on the cruise, but I said to the guys, this is it for now. I just this is about as much as I can do. I've got to start really just concentrating on the health,
For sure.
and so we kind of went on hiatus and went into like looking after family and health and everybody's got a few things going on that we kind of put on the back burner when we're busy all the time, and it
Right.
gave us a chance to just kind of regroup. We've got some writing to do. We're staring the 50th year.
Yes,
It's
you
it's like
are.
it's like a year and a half off, so, or less than a year and a half off. So we're kind of into a writing mode now because we're thinking
Right.
about that. So we'd like to have something for the 50th. So
So
it's in a way it's a
another album
blessing.
coming?
Well, there should be. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't just fade off into not with the 50th,
Right.
imminent. So it's almost a blessing in disguise where we're kind of forced to get into that mode and relax at home and do some writing and
Yeah.
spend time with family. I have a chance to spend a lot of time with Saren, my son, I'm now in a band with called Saren Gazer. We had our premiere at Prague Stock this last October.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, and we've also got a really cool YouTube channel going where it's a series of reaction videos to the entire Saga catalog. and we're doing one song at a time, starting with the
Right.
very first album. I think we're in the middle of dropping I think the second song of side two of the third album right now.
Okay.
But it's really cool because it's him hearing the songs mostly for the first time. He's heard
Right.
some songs because he's been on tour with me,
Yeah.
but he's discovering it, and it's great for me because I'm going down memory lane and I'm remembering things. He's asking me questions where I go, geez, I don't know. How did we
Right.
record that? So it's great for me. And it's really cool because it's a chance to hang with him and watch him react to what Dad's been doing
Yeah.
most of his life. So,
Yeah.
and it's great. It's growing. It's quite organic, and it's not, an immediate overnight sensation, but we're up to, close to 1,000 subscribers already. And it's,
Wow.
and the people are really enjoying, I think, the dynamic of he and I together, first of all, but then, my reflections on some of the way we recorded things, or little, stories here and there, and watching him go, wow, how'd you do that, Dad? He said, I actually like this song. I'm like, wow, thanks,
Thanks,
but
Dad.
yeah, I actually like what you do, so it's good. It's good.
So you said, of course, the Saga and Insight second album, B-side, or second side, third song, is Slow Motion or Images? What was it?
No, no,
I tried.
no, no.
I
I'm
tried.
gonna. I think we started off. Let me see. We just started off. Too Much to Lose
Yeah.
was side one. Or sorry,
Right.
side two. First track. I believe no. The end of side one was Compromise.
Right.
You might be right.
We'll see. I'll go.
Listen.
I can't. I've
She
I've
usually
You
is.
see, now this is one of those questions, like I said, it'll be like,
Of course.
what song is on what album and what number is it in the running order? I'm like,
Right.
you know better than I do. I mean, it's
Yeah. Well, I have it from, it was on Polydor.
okay,
I have that, before you went on to Maze Records and doing it.
right.
That was all your own, correct?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. With, what's his name? Corcoran?
Clive Corcoran.
Clive Corcoran. Yeah. My uncle's name. I thought it was Clive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. What is the name of the YouTube channel again? So that, of course, I will go and subscribe and
Well,
watch.
it's
This is
a teen reacts to Dad's '80s music, if you want to look at it that way,
okay.
or just look up Saren Gazer.
Okay.
But it's there. Yeah, if you just
Yeah.
do teen reacts to Dad's '80s music, it'll
Yeah.
come up.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I'm glad to hear you're feeling well. You sound strong to me. Like you sound great. I didn't talk to you a year ago when you were in less positive shape, but you sound good.
Less animated. Yeah, I feel good. I have to say, I mean, for all like outward appearances and that, I feel a lot stronger than I did. I lost a ton of weight because of it at the time.
Yeah.
That's all back. I'm trying to exercise as much as I can, healthy diet and all of that. Like I said, it just puts life, in perspective when something like that, you get that kind of news, like, oh, okay, time to readjust. But I feel good. I'm surrounded with really, strong support, and the people, the fans and that, and friends and family have been tremendous. So yeah,
Yeah.
here I am.
So again, Jano, I know you got a million questions, but
It's all good.
but I need if possible, Michael, the Saga origin story. You mentioned Oakville. You mentioned almost 50 years ago. How does Saga form?
Reader's Digest version.
Or not? It's up to you.
I was in a band with Jim Crichton, bass player, called Truck in the very, very early days, like 1972, 73, 74. I was invited to join that band. I was in a band that was a blues band originally, if you can believe it, like an authentic Chicago blues band. I'm this white kid out of a church choir, fresh out of quit school, quit the choir, and joined this band with older guys. I think they were all in their, mid-20s. And here's this 16-year-old kid like singing the blues, if you can believe it. And we kind of transitioned into a sort of a jazz blues jazz band, and then kind of jazz rock-ish kind of fusion thing, which made sense later in retrospect, because I remember being in that band with the drummer went into Toronto, big city, one day. This was all it was actually in Burlington, Well, sorry, we moved to Burlington. It was in Burlington we were living at the time, the band house. He went into Toronto and came home and he said, Michael, I got this album, you got to hear it. And he put this album on. We listened to side one. There was silence. He turned it over, put side two on. And at the end of it, I remember looking at him saying, I have no idea what the hell that is, but I want to make music like that. And it was Gentle Giant's first album.
Oh.
And I found out later that they originally, I believe they were a band called Simon Dupree and the Big Sound, and it was kind of a jazz fusion rock thing. So it made sense that it became what's called prog, essentially. And that was the birth of that beginning for me. And we played 4 shows because one of our songs was 25 minutes long, one song was 17 minutes long. Yes, it was over the top prog. Yeah, and
this is territory.
And we had you had to have a mellotron if you were going to play prog in the 70s. So we had a mellotron, a notoriously unreliable instrument for traveling. And sure enough, this one of the 4 shows we did, it broke down. And we found out the only people that had one was a band called Truck. And Jim and Todd Booth, the keyboard player, drove to London, Ontario from the Toronto area with a mellotron to let us borrow. I don't know what the connection was to this day. I would have to ask how we even knew that they had one or knew of Jim and Todd. But they were gracious enough to drive all the way to London with a mellotron that we could use. And through that connection, that band, funny thing about that band, one of the 4 gigs that we played was playing the Key to Bala. And yes, and we were the headliner on the bigger of the 2 stages. And one of our opening, or the earlier bands before us was Rush.
No kidding.
Yes.
Tie into Alex Lifeson going to my high school.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Well, I believe it was that John Mills Collegiate.
A.Y. Jackson.
Okay, because I think Jim went to school with. He mentioned he went to school with Alex, I believe. Oh. So maybe you went to the same school.
Maybe.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't know if Getty would remember it, but John Rutsey would have been playing drums still at the time because this is, I guess, 72. I'm thinking 70 something, like early on. But yeah. So anyway, that band broke up. I got a call from Jim because he knew me through us borrowing the mellotron, and the singer from Truck was leaving, and he asked if I would be interested. I got the gig with Truck. We played for a few years together, and then the band broke up, and the management was it was not a pleasant scene. Everything kind of fell apart, and it left a bad taste in my mouth about the music business. And I got out of the music business for about a year and a half. I had a corporate job. I was a graphic arts salesman. I worked on the table for a while, and then I was behind the wheel of this corporate car, 3-piece suit, briefcase, going around trying to get clients. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And then
mind blown, Michael. Mind blown.
Yeah, when I think about it. And I came home from work one day and I got a call from Jim, and he said, "Hey, I'm working on some songs. You want to come over and just put your vocal on it? Just I have a guide vocal on these 3 or 4 songs I have." I said, "I'd love to." So I went over, had some supper, and then after supper went into the living room, and the drums were like using cardboard boxes just to get a rhythm, and it was a sound on sound tape machine, And,
oh, wow.
I did the vocals on 3 or 4 songs, had a great time, and went home. Next day I woke up, put my suit on, got in the car, did my thing, came home remembering what had happened the night before, and I looked in the mirror after I came home and I went, "Who are you?" And I was like, what are you doing? Needless to say, I quit the next day. I said, "Man, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. This is not me."
Yeah.
And I called up Jim and I said, "So you want to go for it?" He said, "Absolutely." And that was it. We just started writing, and Ian was a logical choice, Ian Crichton being his brother. And and Steve Nagus he had played with not only in in the band called Flood that Jim and also Peter Rochon, our original keyboard player, the three of them had played together in Flood. So that was it. We added Ian into the mix, and that was the birth of the band. But it was called Pockets in the beginning. You would know that.
Yep.
Where does the name Saga come from?
That was us sitting around a boardroom table, basically, in the management office, going, "We got to change the name because this other band released an album before us called Pockets, so we need to change the name." So it's like, oh, okay, throwing out I don't know who did it. Somebody just dropped the name Saga, and we all kind of paused and went, hang on, first of all, it's a nice short and sweet name. It's only 4 letters. That's it's like Rush, Saga. It's very punchy.
Right.
Yeah.
But the implication of the never-ending story, the ongoing tale of, was appealing because you're thinking longevity at that point, even though, you kind of cross your fingers hoping that a band will last 3 or 4, maybe 5 years at the best. Yeah. Then you hit the 10th anniversary, then the 20th, and then ooh, okay. But it was really that, just out of necessity. But I'm glad it happened because it was a much more, I guess, appropriate name considering the kind of music we were playing and what lay ahead for us. So.
And what would you say to somebody who called you Saga?
I say, are you from Canada?
Right? Right?
Hey, you're from Canada, eh?
I can't. Every time someone says Saga, I'm like, actually, it's Saga.
Oh, it's Saga.
Well, it's pasta. Sorry. I know it's pasta, not pasta. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, big question for you from Leslie Taylor.
All right.
Who I know is Jano. That's why Jano's called Cousin Jano, because Leslie Taylor is her cousin. This is a long inside story, Michael, we won't bore you with. But
yes,
to what does Michael attribute the success of Saga in Germany?
Thanks for stealing my question, La.
Well, come on. Okay, let's hear it.
I've been asked that a number of times.
Yes.
I can't. Okay, it's only a theory. The only thing I can. Well, here's the thing. The two territories in the world that took off for us, or we took off in, or embraced the band, as it were Germany and Puerto Rico. Okay. Now, when you think about that, culturally and geographically, it's like, what do these two territories possibly have in common? And you got, what? Best explanation that we have been able to come up with is perhaps the more symphonic side of the band, excuse me, at the time, with the strings and this and that, appeal to the classical, I don't want to say upbringing of the fan, but they're surrounded by classical music, steeped in classical background, culturally and historically, on a musical perspective. And in Puerto Rico, very much into rhythm, obviously. So perhaps, and we had that combination. That's why we've kind of been an enigma and hard to describe, because we're a little bit too proggy for the straight up rock audience and a little too rock for the real prog purists. So we're in that middle ground. We're very rhythmic. And that's my best explanation, that the rhythm, like songs like Humble Stance and You're Not Alone, appeal to the Puerto Ricans, or the Latino population, and the more orchestral side of the band perhaps appeal to the Europeans. That's my best explanation. It seems to make sense to me anyway.
Well, right out of the hop, so that the debut album is self-titled Saga, and then you're selling. It's in Germany. It's an import in Germany, and it sells over 30,000 copies. So right out of the hopper.
Yeah, and the record company was like, they were watching this and then, hang on a second, these guys are selling a lot of imports. Get on the phone with the management. Hey, how about and we went, sure, but that's how it happened. And in fact, Puerto Rico, the first time we went down there, we had a sold out show, a few thousand people, but we didn't know what to expect. We were invited to play in Puerto Rico. We're like, huh? And we had only sold a handful of records, but it was at the time when, one guy would get the record, then they make a few copies on cassette, and then it would spread through the island. And there was a radio station called Alpha Rock 106. They were 100% into the band and started playing us over and over and over. And of course, with the help of MTV, which we got in right at the beginning, which was that's another story, but timing wise, we were a household name by the time we got down there, and we couldn't believe the reaction. It was like, wow, we actually mean a lot on this island. Um, and it just grew from there. And to this day, the beautiful thing about that is Alpha Rock, the radio station that supported us so much, so fervently through the years, they went off the airwaves a couple of years ago, I believe now. And the very, very last song they ever played was The Perfectionist.
Oh, good song.
But it was the very last thing you ever heard from that radio station. That's how much they were into the band. And the strange thing is, that's a waltz. Now there's the okay, Puerto Rico, and they're glomming onto this. It's basically a waltz. It's a 3/4,
Yep.
you know, and that's. But it was huge on the island, and they chose that as their final song. I was like, wow. So yeah, but yeah, Germany and Puerto Rico. You tell me.
Well, that was one of the things that I was thinking. I'm like, I'm trying to sort that out as I'm thinking, what questions am I going to ask Michael? And that was one of them where they appear to be disparate, but in fact aren't. Once you kind of give this explanation, it makes a lot of sense.
Very thorough, good, very thoughtful explanation.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Well, it makes, like I said, it makes sense to me, so I'm going with it.
Well, it makes sense if you know the music. You're like, right, okay, yeah, for very kind of different songs for different things, but the musicality.
Sure. And it's pretty timeless too. I found that, and I noticed, you know, doing the series with my son. Sarah will point out, you know, you say, yeah, this is great. It doesn't sound like it was done, you know, 35 years ago or whatever. It sounds like it could have been done yesterday. So, I mean, apart from some of the production from the earlier albums, obviously the sounds, I'd like to, you know, if I had a chance, re-record some of them. But then again, it is what it is. But yeah, I found, and I've had this comment many times over the years, that it's kind of timeless. You know, there's no time stamp in terms of, oh, that was definitely the early 90s. That's what music sounded like in the early 90s. So it reflects that. It doesn't really, you know.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that in terms of the consistency as I was looking at the timeline and looking at the discography, which of course I know. Your sound is really consistent. Considering the lineup changes that you've gone through, it has been remarkably consistent, and I also thought timeless. And I was thinking, was that because you love them so much? And it was like, no, it really is timeless, and you've really kind of embraced a lot as you went along in your journey. In my opinion, as the listener, and I have a couple questions. When I think about Saga, not Saga, but Saga, and technology, you were early adopters. You did In Transit was, you know, direct to disc, which I couldn't even imagine being terrifying. The Briefcase. You were really, you know, Jim Gilmore in I saw an interview a few years ago that he did about just the amount of technology that he's now using, and has been using over the years. What made you jump on that bandwagon?
We just tried to stay ahead of the curve. We always tried to be, not purposely different, but we just wanted to have something new to offer. And we just, you know, anything brand new that came out, we had to try it. There were things that we went, no, that's gimmicky or whatever. Yeah. But we could see what was coming, and we jumped on it as early as we possibly could. You know, Steve with the Simmons kit, the electronic drum kit, and then going, you know what? These are just a bunch of triggers. We can build that. Anything could be a drum. That's when we did the Briefcase thing. So, wow. Which turned in, and that was, I mean, the Briefcase was, it was meant solely for a live thing. It was meant for fun, for part of the show, and the whole visual of it, opening this briefcase and doing a drum duet with Steve. The fact of the matter is, I mean, that drum solo, as it were, I think we put that together in like 20 minutes. It was just, you know, it was less about the drum solo itself than it was about the spectacle, the actual optic of opening a briefcase and hearing these drums. The funny thing is, it became so popular because of In Transit. We were in a sort of rock disco not long after In Transit had come out, and you know, they're playing rock music, people on the dance floor and that. and it was kind of not the dance floor wasn't that busy at that moment, and the DJ put on the single, a briefcase, which was called on the album, and as soon as it started, the dance floor just got packed, and I remember sitting back going, what?
Yeah.
These people are dancing to a drum solo?
Yeah.
But I get it. But to answer your question, just trying to stay ahead of the curve, anything new to be slightly different to enhance what we had. We've always tried to, we've gone out of our way to sound like us. We've never said we're going to make this kind of record, or we're going to make this kind of record, or this would be popular, or this.
Yeah.
We just, I've always just said, okay, it's time to write some new music. Whatever comes out is whatever we're feeling, whatever sounds good to us.
Yeah.
And I mean, we used to joke about if we were in a rehearsal or in a writing mode, if we played a certain part and someone said, "Oh, that reminds me of such and such," we'd say, "Oh, we can't use that." Right. Even if it was like 2 bars worth of something, we go, "No, we can't use that. If that reminds you of that, that means it's going to remind someone else of that, and we don't want anybody thinking about that if they're listening to this." So
yeah, and I would agree. You're consistent. I mean, it's
varied, but it's consistent in its uniqueness, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I have seen you perform a briefcase 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is happening when you walk down and you put it on the stool and it goes and everyone's like, what's happening here? Like, what is in that briefcase? And that is an excellent, I mean, Steve Negus is an excellent, in my humble opinion, excellent drummer. I mean, really unbelievable. And that whole call and response back and forth is amazing. Yeah. So
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you always looked like you were having fun doing it. You always looked like you were having a lot of fun doing it. So.
I think I was having more fun watching the reaction to people, like looking out at people like, what?
Like me going, what is in that briefcase?
Yeah. That sound is coming out of there.
Yeah. You mentioned something, sort of dial back to the name Saga and the chapters, which of course I have consumed over and over and over again, being like, what does it mean? What's going on? So I have a 2-pronged question. One, the first 8 are written, then the second set are written almost 20 years apart. If I've got my math right, which is not my strong suit. But how did you come up with that? Did you build around the chapters? Did you write the chapters as you were going and say, this will go well here, this will go well here? Because this is a big story.
No, it was more the latter. It was as we went, the beginning, the end. And then it was like a jigsaw puzzle. And, say the third album, we need a couple of chapters. Yeah. And we would be writing the music, and then invariably one would just tell us, it was like, I am the next chapter.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you start playing, musically, working on something like "Don't Be Late." It's like, oh, this is obviously a chapter. This has got to be one of the chapters. And then it was a matter of, okay, the mood of the music is such that, okay, what would be happening in the story at what point? This should be the music that explains that part.
Right.
Images was a logical choice at the beginning because that's how the whole thing starts, and you start with the ballad and that. But it was really a musical jigsaw puzzle at that point. Like I said, we knew how it was going to begin and how it was going to end, without revealing everything, because there were still plans to do something larger with it. People were discussing at one point a stage production of it, perhaps an animated series.
Wow.
Something that explains everything with graphics and with the visual. But but that aside, we always wanted it to be a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. And also, if you think about it, we do the first album with a couple of things called chapters on them, and there's 2, not even in order. Then the next one, then there's 2 more, and then so it almost guaranteed if you're doing 8 chapters, it almost guarantees you're going to do at least 4 albums. So it was kind of an insurance policy.
We got to finish at some point in terms of the chapters. So give us 4 albums. Yeah.
So we got to release at least 4. Okay.
Yeah.
But, and it just took on a life of its own, and
it did, because I remember when chapter 8 came out, I was like, I ran. I was like, I got to get, because at the beginning there is all of the little snippets, and I'm like, are these the snippets that tell the story of all the chapters? And I mean, it really did.
And it's also been fun when we hit 16. It's been listening and reading people's. It's like, oh, I finally figured out this is what it is. Yeah. And some of the explanations are not completely wrong, but like, wow, interesting in their own right. But whether they're wrong or right, what was very cool about it is they were so vested enough to follow it and think to themselves, well, I think this is what's going on. So it got people interested that way and got creatively thinking. And so that's a compliment in itself, that people were interested enough to try and, figure out the stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what attracted me to the band consistently over time is, I have a very rich inner world. If you are somebody who knows me well, you know that I have a very rich inner world. And you as a band met me in that rich inner world. Like, it was never like you would just listen to a song and be like, well, that's a nice song. It always felt textured. It always felt like there was this big, story being told, be it through the layers of music, be it the lyrics, be it the vocals. I mean, it is a band for people, I think, with a really, really rich inner world. And that, I think, is why I'm like, if there are days that are a bit tough, I'm like, just pop some of that on, you'll be fine. And you go off into, really, during really tough times in my life where I'm like, I need to feel level. I'm just going to put some stuff
I've heard that so many times over the years, and it's a great compliment. People saying, you got me through a rough time.
Yeah.
Or, I used this song to propose to my wife, or my brother was in the hospital and he was a big fan, and one guy said I can't remember the relationship, but someone was in a coma and they kept playing soggy music and then ended up coming out of it. Now, whether we were the reason for him coming out of the coma or just part of the aiding in that in that process, it was imagine how it makes you feel. It's like, my God, if that's true, that it meant that much, that it, and to hear these stories being shared, it's like, wow. You write some songs, you cross your fingers, you hope people like them. That's how it starts. Yeah. And then to have so many people not just enjoy listening, but are actually affected by it, and in a positive way. Yeah. It's a great compliment. It means more than the accolades and the money and the fame and all of that. That's much more satisfying at the end of the day.
Yeah. Speaking of accolades, I have to kind of laugh, and I want to kind of get your take on this. You win a Juno for Most Promising Band 4 albums in, if my math is correct.
Yes, and
what's your thought on that? Because
it was well, there are 2 things. The most promising band. Oh, thanks. It looks like you think we're going to make it. And it was. I believe the Juno Awards took place while we were in the middle of a tour.
You were
in Europe, and
sold out tour everywhere.
Doing quite well. Yeah. And we got that news, and I just found it funny. It was ironic. I mean, still to this day. We're known in Canada, but we're still a bit like a well-kept secret for the most part. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, I know that band. Yeah, didn't they do "Turn Me Loose"? No, that was Loverboy. Oh yeah, the word "loose" is in there. Yeah.
I bet you. I was thinking that just before we started this article, that how many people confuse "Turn Me Loose" by Loverboy with "On the Loose" by Saga. I bet you that happens a lot.
Only title-wise, but yeah, obviously.
A little different.
Mashup.
Mashup.
But it happens. Not less than you might think, but it obviously has come up.
Well, this is a nice little gateway for me to ask how On the Loose changes things for Saga, because now you're a top 40 band, Michael.
God forbid. Yeah.
You are.
Something we never wanted. Well, all that meant was a wider reach, obviously, a larger audience to listen to, what we've been doing. Then it forces, not forces, but invites people to go back and see where, how we got there. So it really opened. I mean, the album Worlds Apart just opened things up to a whole other level for us, which was wonderful. Working with Rupert Hine just
Yeah.
it was, I mean, for me personally, if you listen to, I made jokes about this as we were going through the reaction series with my son. Some of the early vocals, I mean, I was pretty green in terms of singing rock and roll because, like I said, I came out of a church choir background, and if you listen to them, I'm singing the songs pretty precisely and very concerned about doing it the right way and tonally and expression and all of that.
Yeah.
Up until Worlds Apart. And we went for our first sort of meeting with Rupert and Steve, the engineer, in the control room at Farmyard Studios in England. And I remember sitting there, the five of us are sitting there on the couch and I just relaxing. And Rupert looked at us and was like, okay, let's talk about their vision for the album, how he what he thinks and his input. So let's start with the drums. Steve, da, 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 this is what I hear, da, 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 changing this, maybe enhancing this, and what's broke, what's not broke, or just his feelings on it. And then one by one, keyboards and guitar and bass, and left the vocals to the end. It's like, and I was sitting there and going, all right, here it comes. And he's like, all right, Michael, let's talk about the vocals. I'm like, uh-oh. And he said, just very simply said to me, he says, all right, here's the thing. We know you can sing. That's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
What I want you to do now is forget everything you learned. And I thought, but you just said, what he meant was, you know how to do it. Now just do it. Don't think about it. Just look at the lyric, feel the lyric, tell the story. And if you make a mistake, that's the whole idea in the studio. You can do it again. Just go out, just feel the song, just sing it. Don't think that it has to be perfectly right. Get more emotional with it. And from that moment on, you'll hear a difference from Worlds Apart going forward, decidedly from the third album to Worlds Apart. There's a different vibe to the vocal. And it's directly as a result of Rupert's influence on the way I sing. And really all he did was he deprogrammed me. Is essentially it. He said, we know you can do it. Now forget all that you learned how to do that because you've got that nailed. Now just do it. And that's when I was introduced to the idea of doing four takes from the beginning to the end. Just start the song, sing it all the way through. Okay, now switch tracks. Now do it 4 times, and then just picking the best line from each, which is not cheating per se because you're just in studio. You're just trying to come up with the best performance possible. It goes for with guitar solos sometimes, with bass parts or whatever. You'll play it all the way through, and that way you get a fresh performance each time because you're not, stopping the tape and then going, okay, then dropping in with the vocal and trying to maintain the fluidity of the performance.
So when On the Loose hits the top 30 on the Billboard charts in the United States, this is February '83. I think it peaks at number 26. That's your American breakthrough. So I'm curious, how important was that for Saga to break through in the United States of America, and what did that mean for the band going forward?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is it widened the audience, the exposure. The more and more people could, hear what we're creating, and your audience suddenly goes from here to here. Mm-hmm. It's the exposure alone. It was crazy, and then the timing of it was perfect because MTV was just beginning. Yeah. They were just about to launch. We had been approached by management saying, we'd like to do a video or a couple of videos. We're going, okay. They're going to be music videos. It's going to be kind of half story and half performance. We're like, what? and so we shot the videos for a number of them, but the first one being On the Loose. And it was in the can. It was done. It was ready to go. And MTV came along, and they had a brand new medium and very little content. Guess who had a video ready to go?
Yeah. Right, perfect timing.
Yeah,
perfect timing. And the record company was like, yes. So, I mean, the amount of airplay we were getting from MTV combined with now your top 40 radio, and I remember that year, the launch of when On the Loose came out, we did. I'm guessing 5 or 6 tours just back to back in the States. Pat Benatar, Eddie Money, Jethro Tull. It was just one after another. We just the weirdest one. I'll just interject really quick. The weirdest one we ever did, in terms of lineup, was we were sandwiched in between Girls' School and Quiet Riot.
Oh.
And you've got this Canadian neo prog band in between these two heavy metal. And I remember, the funny thing is, I remember the audience kind of going, oh? You know, they kind of looked at, they weren't upset. They weren't like, oh, boo, this is, they were just really confused. They knew that there was, I think they knew that there was something good. They just had never heard anything like it. And they, of course, this is a metal audience, and they're like, well, it's kind of heavy, you know. Yeah. But that was the strangest one we did. But no, we just toured the Jesus out of that album that year, and we were away from home a lot. So.
Yeah,
and you were rewarded. Sorry, Mike, go ahead. Rewarded with the most promising group of the year, as we talked about earlier.
There you go. So it was all worth it. Finally,
so worth it.
That's wild.
I have a weird pairing that you may have forgotten that you did. I want to say it was Massey Hall 81 or 82. Bryan Adams opened for you. And
Massey Hall, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, what? Like, I mean, Bryan Adams wasn't Bryan Adams as we know him, but he was just starting out. It was the very first album. Yeah. That was a kind of a weird opening act, I have to say.
Right? Well, musically, yeah. I mean, great CanCon, but and I remember thinking, who's this little upstart? You know, this young kid who thinks he knows. And he came out, but I do, in retrospect, I do remember he came out with tremendous confidence. He just knew. Yeah. And I think in the back of my mind, I was like, the kid's going to be a star.
Yeah.
Because he just had, like I say, just oozing with confidence, well-written, you know, rock pop songs. And I just thought, yeah, this is going to work. You know, as a support for a band like ours, probably, you know, it's a bit of a mismatch, but that happens all the time. But I do remember thinking, yeah, this kid's got it. So.
Yeah. So, you know, we talk a lot about the old days, which are, you know, phenomenal, and people would know you best for in some circumstances. As Saga continues on, you know, 50 years coming up, you know, what was the view? What was the, you know, you were hoping 4 albums because you had 8 chapters. What was it kind of when you realized, okay, this is a long haul. How do we see this going?
Probably when it really hit, I mean, the longevity factor, the 20th anniversary. It's like, how did we get here? 20 years. It's like, where did the time go? Yeah. I mean, then 3, you know, add a couple of more decades on top of that. I think it was around the 20th when we were really starting to feel the longevity factor. It was like, wow, you know, that's when it really sunk in. And because like I said earlier in the conversation, I mean, you get together with a bunch of guys, get together, you write a bunch of songs, you record them, you put them out there, you cross your fingers, you hope somebody likes them. You hope somebody likes them enough that you can do another album, and then perhaps another. If you can stay together 5 years, that's, you know, that's huge.
Yeah.
To be blessed with enough support and people enjoying what you do, to sustain that. And I mean, look at me. I've been able to make a living from doing what I love doing for, you know, almost 50, well, more than 50 years because of a couple of bands before Saga. But all that time I've been able to, you know, do what I do and sustain and put a roof over the family's head and feed the family. And it's crazy to think about it. You know? You know, because sometimes you'll speak to someone and say, well, someone's very successful doing whatever they do. You've done very well for yourself. Is this what you always wanted to do? Well, no, actually, it's like Monty Python. I always wanted to be a lumberjack. Um, I actually always wanted to be a rock star. It's like, or I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to be a high wire artist in the circus, or I always want to do that. I'm doing what I want to do. I've always wanted to do, and I'm getting paid for it. It's like, I sometimes feel not guilty, but it's a lot of hard work. Make no mistake, and a lot of ups and downs. There's been some pretty trying times through the years. Longevity. It's funny. I think it was Pete Agnew from Nazareth once said a few years ago in an interview that you stay together long enough. First you're up and coming, then you're promising, and then you become the classic rock band, and then then you start bordering on dinosaur. And if you can muster it through the dinosaur phase, then you become legendary.
Yeah.
So as long as you can get past the dinosaur part.
I agree.
I read that. I thought that was hilarious, and it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So, in the time that that the band has been in various iterations, you took a bit of time off. Mm-hmm. And Rob Moratti came in and did an album. And what are your thoughts on that? Or is it not something you're like, I don't know, I wasn't there, I wasn't part of the...
Yeah, I don't talk about that. Can we move on?
Yep.
I'm very bitter about that. Just kidding. No, it's what I did was it was exactly 30 years.
Right.
And I thought to myself, at that time, I thought, you know what? It's been a great run. I want to focus on family now. I'd always wanted to have a biological child of my own. I have a daughter, a stepdaughter, Jessica. But my wife and I, Gwen and I, just went, it's time. You put in your dues. 30 years is a long time.
Long time.
At that time, you talk about longevity. 30 is a big number.
Yeah.
And I just said, guys, it's a personal reason. It's a life choice, and that's what I want to do. Everything was fine. It's like, okay, well, we're going to move forward. I said, that's absolutely fine. And they found Rob, and I remember at the time they did the album.
Yeah.
But before I had a chance to hear the album, they played a show in Barrie, I believe, at the theater, old theater up there.
Right.
And I was in Canada at the time, or I went up there specifically because I wanted to see this guy singing my songs.
Yeah.
Basically. Someone else singing my songs. So I went up to the gig. I didn't tell the guys I was coming up there, and I went into the venue. I got a baseball cap on, and I was like this. And I sat in the back, and I waited, and it was the most surreal experience I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
They came out. They started the show. He came out and he started singing, and I'm just like, wow! It was like Twilight Zone time. I couldn't stay. I think I got through two and a half songs, and it was just, and it wasn't him, and it wasn't anything to do with the performance itself. It was just the it didn't compute. I was like, I had to leave.
Yeah.
If you ask me about that album, I think it's a very, very strong album, and he's a great vocalist.
Yeah, he is.
But he's not me. No, and it's good that they didn't get someone that sounded exactly like me.
Yeah.
He's a great AOR singer. I don't know. I think he took some flack for not fitting in that sense. But I mean, that's unfair criticism because you're talking about replacing someone who's been the voice for 30 years at that point. So anybody is going to be different. I mean, I think I mentioned at one time, you might think about getting a female vocalist just to, like Linkin Park did, for example.
Yeah.
Then you take away any chance of comparison whatsoever.
Yeah.
But anyway, suffice to say, I think he was unfairly criticized, especially he took some flack from the Europeans for his live performances. Again, that's not fair either. It took me decades to get used to what I do on stage and be an entertainer, not just a singer. Yeah. And he had very little experience from a live point of view. So he walked into these huge shoes to fill. Again, someone who's been there for 30 years. So hats off to him for taking the reins and doing a great job with it. But I feel bad that he took some of the heat that he did.
Yeah, it is a strong album. I mean, I do. I mean,
I agree. Yeah,
it's like, okay, no, it's not you, but once you get over that, and you go, no, 100%. It's not Michael, it's Rob. Let's listen to it. It's a really, really.
If you listen to it objectively from that point of view, it's absolutely a very, very strong album.
Yeah, I agree. I fully.
And then in January 2011, the return of Michael Sadler as lead singer of Saga.
Yeah, that was. I think the first show we did was in Niagara Falls, USA, on an old vaudeville theater. Yeah, that was the. I mean, you would know.
Come back.
Yeah. It was. I remember coming to the first rehearsal after all that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the guys would think, because I mean, you leave, and even though it's no hard feelings, that kind of thing, and it's amiable, you don't know for sure if anybody's harboring any resentment maybe, or any negative feelings about what you leaving and the reason being and all of that. You left us in the lurch, that kind of thing. So you don't know, and I didn't know for sure. So I just showed up thinking ready to take any side glances or whatever would happen, and nothing happened at all in that regard. I remember we started rehearsal, we hit the first song. I got all choked up, because we did this. I'm singing a song I'd sung a million times, but it was suddenly different. It was fresh for some reason, and no, we didn't talk. It was like essentially a cliche, but like I'd never left. It was like we'd had a 2-week break or something, and it just fell back into place beautifully. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like, I mean, so Steve Negus and Jim Gilmore went off. A little bit of work. So it's not like you hadn't had, some people say I'd like a moment. People kind of come and go. And am I correct that Ian Crichton is the through line? Through line, the only person who did not leave the band. Am I correct on that?
Officially, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I know you're all I know Jim Crichton, I'm talking like I know them because I've known them for almost 50 years. But, that Jim has taken some time off, and Jim Gilmore and Steve Negus had done some stuff. So, I mean, I think as the front person, you get to take a little time because you want to go and do some other stuff. So
it was it was purely personal, and nothing to do, like I said, with the musical differences or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
None of that. It was just purely, it's a family thing. This is what I want to do right now, and to be fair to you guys, I'm going to step away, and I'm sure you'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
And they were. So it was time, and no hard feelings and all of that, and it all worked out. But we've all had moments where we had to step back and just go, I got to do this right now. So.
As one does in a 50-year career.
Yes, adventure, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, career. I'll put it in air quotes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a career. I mean,
it is.
Not the same as selling digitals.
Massive roller coaster. Massive.
But did you have a company car, Michael? That's the question. You were before you had
an airplane.
Car.
I got 6 helicopters.
What am I talking about? Yeah.
So let me do this. Let me remind the listenership again, Michael, who you've been amazing, Michael. Like
you really have.
I think we made this was your dream come true, right, Cousin Jano?
Unexpected bucket list. Literally found out on Saturday, and as I said to Mike,
let me shout out the fact that on December 14th, we're recording on November 25th. So that's coming up. So December 14th, there's a pop-up show. It is, of course, Michael Sadler on the Heineken stage. We're Great Lakes beer fans here, but we love the fact Heineken stage is helping to promote the music as well with great FOTMs like Ed Souza. But on the Heineken stage in Mississauga, also, I'm told that you're available possibly for corporate private bookings. How would people reach you if they say, "Hey, I want Michael Sadler to sing some of these songs"?
My birthday party.
Yeah. Like, how do we contact you?
It's all Ed now. It's Ed Sousa's got that
Sousa.
covered. I just, I said to him, we were joking around a little bit about it, and I said, there's no reason why people do it all the time. They do corporate gigs. They do. We Saga actually did a birthday party. Believe it or not, we were contacted by this massive fan who lives in Florida, and he contacted the band and said, "I'd love to get the guys to play at my birthday party." We're like, okay. How deep are your pockets? And we didn't laugh it off. We thought, well, there's no way you can afford it. I mean, we're going to charge like normal concert fee for a birthday party, essentially.
Right.
But he came up with the dough. He said, "Yeah, I'll fly you down, hotels and diddly do."
Wow.
And we did it. It was just, we flew into this gig. We did it for him and his, I think, 30, 40 people, and then flew home. And it was a blast. But I said to Ed, there's no reason why, if it's just myself and Dave Barrett, and you should mention that about the gig. It's myself and David Barrett. We've done this before, and it's a great pairing. We even do a Rush song.
Well done.
Yeah. But I said to Ed at the time, if there's there's corporate people that the way I see it, there are guys that, like, say they in high school were huge fans of the band. And again, the longevity factor comes into play here, where they're now in the corporate world, say, and doing very, very well for themselves. But bucket list wise, either they've never seen us live, or they're just still huge fans. Now they're in a position to be able to do that, to say, I'd love to have them sing at the corporate or a get together, or whatever. But would never ask, because it may be a matter of, oh, well, it'd be great, but there's no way they would say yes, or he would say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know unless you ask? Because there's no shame in doing it. In fact, it's fun. It's different.
Right.
And I welcome it. So I said to Ed, hey, weddings and bar mitzvahs are not out of the question, jokingly. But seriously, if somebody wants me and David to do an acoustic thing, the same thing we're going to be doing at the Heineken stage, for anything private, just go through Ed, just ask Ed. It's worth asking. We can always, the worst that can happen is we'll say no, but you don't know unless you ask.
Yeah.
And Ed's easy to talk to, but
100%. Now, me on the other hand,
lie to you and say that if I had that kind of money, you would have been the band on my birthday party bucket list. I'd have been like,
That's what I'm saying.
Saga.
well, let's raise the funds for your 40th. When's that coming up? So let me tell you, Michael,
played.
I've changed the cameras, okay? You are now on the Zoom. You are now looking at Cousin Jano, the new host of Toronto Mic'd.
Yes. It's an honor. I mean, it's, when you talk about, well, I hope, we write a couple of songs, hope they stick, hope a couple of people like them, and it parlays into a 50-year career. You are the mainstay. Ask anybody who's known me. They'll be like, who's the band? Saga. It's always Saga. It's an honor. It's a real honor to get to talk with you, hear all sorts of anecdotes. I just have a couple of questions.
Oh, okay. We got to jam this one. We got to let Michael go at some point.
Two quick questions. Favorite song to play, your favorite song of Saga's? That's it. That's the only question.
The favorite one to play, or the favorite? That's a
Either.
two-part question?
Either, yeah, or if you only want to ask.
It sounds like two questions to me, Cousin Jano.
Thank you. Wow. You say that it's a tricky question because it's so subjective, and it depends on how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with album. Okay, from a vocal point of view.
Yeah.
I'm first of all, I'm my own worst critic. I usually hear things back and go, ugh, and everyone else goes, sounds great, and I go, whatever. Overall, I think behavior for me, from a vocal performance, being satisfied with a vocal performance, is as close to being. I'm never 100% satisfied.
Right.
But as close to being
It's a
happy
good album.
with it.
Yeah.
I was in a good place, I think, just creatively, and just which always contributes to a performance. But in general behavior, any of the songs out there.
Good to know. Yeah, it's a good album.
Goodbye Once Upon a Time is for me I love singing that song and I like listening to it, which is a good sign. So.
Yeah.
Michael, you were so gracious with your time, and you made this woman's dreams come true. I really want to say thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Can I just mention
much?
May I mention a side project that didn't come up?
Oh my God, yes.
I got involved. I was approached a couple of years ago now, by a man named Beat Zimmerman, a Swiss artist, and he asked me if I would be interested in singing on his first album.
Okay.
And I said, well, like I said, everyone, I need to hear the material first, because I don't want to just sing it just for the sake of it. I mean, I have to like it, because if I just sing it, then I'm just doing it for the money, and I've never wanted to do that. And you're not going to get a very good, the best performance out of me unless I feel attached to it and I enjoy the music. So he sent me the stuff that he was working on, and I was like, I really, really liked it, and I said, okay. I thought he just, he meant, well, let's, have me sing on a couple of songs or whatever. He wanted me to be the vocalist on the entire album, and I said it'd be my pleasure. We worked it out. He ended up getting Todd Zuckerman on drums. So, yeah, and it's funny. It progressed and progressed, and I got involved a little bit with the writing in the vocal lines and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's his album, and I'm the vocalist, and the project is called Unicorn Umbrellas, and the album is called Every Picture Tells a Story. It's really good, from my opinion, and I will supply you with the link for that. As well as the gig on the 14th, but that's something to watch out for. I'm very proud of it. You're asking me about Saga songs that that are my favorites to sing and that kind of thing. I really enjoyed singing this album.
Oh, great!
And I like singing outside of my comfort zone. Let's put it that way. And I like doing other side projects and that.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm doing another one as we speak this afternoon. I'm supposed to be singing, or I'm checking the vocals on a new song from a man named Matt Sinner, a German artist who I've known for many years, and he approached me last week and said, "I've got a brand new song. I'd like you to sing on it." I said, "Oh, sure." So.
Great. You are busy.
I like to stay busy. I like to sing.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, you have no idea.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Anytime. And we'll see you on the 14th, right?
Yes, you will see me on the 14th.
All right.